They sent me a video of my wife screaming. I watched them peel her skin off piece by piece while she begged for mercy. For minutes and 12 seconds. That's how long it took for Clara to die. They made sure I saw everything. Her pain. Her tears. The moment her eyes went empty. The last thing she said was my name. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. My name is Victor. For 12 years, I did work most people don't know exists. Special operations. The kind where you hunt down terrorists in countries that aren't on any official mission report. I've tracked killers through mountains in Afghanistan, raided compounds in Syria, eliminated targets in Iraq that would have killed thousands of innocent people. I was good at my job, maybe too good, but 3 years ago, I walked away from all of it. I wanted peace. I wanted a normal life. I met a woman who made me believe I could have that. Her name was Clara. I met her at a coffee shop in Phoenix 5 years ago. I was on leave, trying to figure out if I could ever be a regular person again. She was sitting by the window, grading papers with this focused look on her face. I ordered my coffee, turned too fast, and spilled it all over her stack of student assignments. I thought she'd be furious. Instead, she laughed. This genuine, warm laugh that made something in my chest loosen for the first time in years. Well, she said, smiling at the coffee-soaked papers. I guess Tommy's math homework just got a lot more interesting. I bought her another coffee. Then another. We talked for 3 hours. She taught 3rd grade. Spent her days with kids who adored her, teaching them to read and think and be kind. She knew what I did for a living. I didn't hide it. But she never asked for the dark details. She just told me that everyone deserves a chance to come home. To heal. To be something other than what the war made them. We got married a year later. Small ceremony. Her parents, a few of my old teammates, and a judge who rushed through the vows because he had another wedding after ours. It was perfect. Clara wore a simple white dress and smiled at me like I was the only person in the world. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I had something worth protecting that wasn't behind enemy lines. We bought a small house outside Phoenix. She decorated it with plants and photos and paintings from local artists. I learned to cook breakfast. She learned to tolerate my early morning runs. We had routines. Movie nights on Fridays. Farmers market on Sundays. She'd tell me stories about her students. I'd listen and feel grateful that people like her existed in the world. People who gave a damn about making things better. I thought we were safe. I thought my past was buried. I was so wrong. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Clara hadn't come home from school. That wasn't unusual. Sometimes she stayed late for parent meetings or to help kids who needed extra support. I called her cell around 4. No answer. I figured she was busy. I started making dinner. Chicken and rice. Her favorite. I was washing vegetables when my phone buzzed on the counter. One message. No name. No number. Just a video file. I almost didn't open it. Spam, probably. But something made me click. The video loaded. And my entire world ended. Clara was tied to a metal chair in a concrete room. Her face was swollen, covered in bruises. Blood soaked through her shirt. She was crying, gasping for air. A man's voice spoke in Spanish. I understood every word. I'd spent years in Mexico and South America on missions. My Spanish was fluent. This is what happens, the voice said slowly, to men who kill our family. Then I saw the knife. I won't tell you everything they did to her. I can't. But they took their time. They wanted her to suffer. They wanted me to see it. At one point, Clara's eyes found the camera. Even through all that pain, even knowing she was dying, she looked right at me. Her lips moved. No sound. But I could read what she said. I love you. Then the screen went black. I dropped the phone. My knees hit the kitchen floor. I threw up. Everything inside me came apart. The woman I loved more than anything in this world had been tortured to death, and someone wanted me to watch. Someone wanted me to feel this. I don't know how long I sat there. Minutes. Hours. Time stopped meaning anything. But slowly, something shifted inside me. The part of me I'd buried when I retired came back. Cold. Focused. The part that hunted monsters and made them disappear. I picked up my phone with shaking hands. Another message had come through. You took my blood. I took yours. We're even now. Even. This animal thought murdering my wife made us even? I forced myself to think. To pull apart the message like it was an intelligence briefing. They said I killed their family. I'd killed a lot of people in my career. All of them deserved it. Terrorists. War criminals. Men who hurt innocent people for power and money, but who had family connected to cartels. My operations were overseas. Middle East. Africa. I never touched cartel business. Then it hit me. 2 years ago. My last mission before I retired. We got intelligence about a compound in northern Iraq. High-value targets planning attacks on U.S. soil. We raided it at night. 13 hostiles eliminated. Clean operation. No civilians. No mistakes. We burned the site and left. One of those targets was named Rafael Santos. At the time, he was just another terrorist on a list. But now I remembered the debrief. Rafael wasn't just a terrorist. He was using ISIS networks to smuggle drugs into Europe. He had connections to Mexican cartels. And he had a brother, Antonio Santos, head of the Sangre cartel in Sonora, Mexico. I'd killed a cartel prince and never even knew it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Victor Chun? A man's voice. American. Professional. Who is this? FBI. My name is Agent Blake. I'm outside your house with my partner, Agent Morgan. We need to talk to you about your wife. I hung up and opened the door. 2 agents stood on my porch. Blake was tall, clean-cut, looked like he spent his weekends coaching Little League. Morgan was shorter, sharp eyes, the kind of cop who didn't miss details. Mr. Chun, Blake said carefully, we found your wife's body 2 hours ago, dumped on a back road outside Tucson. I'm very sorry for your loss. I nodded, didn't trust myself to speak. Morgan stepped forward. We believe this is connected to cartel activity. We have leads. But I need you to understand something. These people are extremely dangerous. You need to let us handle this. I looked at both of them. Okay. Blake seemed relieved. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, is there anyone we can call? Family? Friends? No, I said. I'll be fine. They left their cards and drove away. I watched their taillights disappear down the street. Then I walked back inside, locked the door, and went to the closet in our bedroom. In the back, behind Clara's winter coats, was a locked case. I hadn't opened it in 3 years. Inside were things from my old life. Contacts, equipment, information. I pulled out a sat phone and dialed a number I'd memorized a decade ago. It rang 3 times. Yeah. A gruff voice answered. It's Victor. I need everything you have on Antonio Santos and the Sangre cartel. Silence. Then, Victor, man, you've been out for years. Why? They killed Clara. Another pause. Longer this time. I'll send you a file in an hour. Victor, be careful. I hung up, sat on the edge of the bed Clara and I shared. Her pillow still smelled like her shampoo. Lavender and vanilla. I closed my eyes and made a promise. The FBI could investigate. They could follow their leads and fill out their reports. But I wasn't waiting. I'd spent 12 years hunting the worst people on this planet. I knew how they thought, how they hid, how they died. Antonio Santos took everything from me. Now I was going to show him what happens when you hurt someone a trained killer loves. This wasn't about justice. This was about making sure he understood, in his final moments, that he chose the wrong man's wife. The file came through at midnight. 200 pages on Antonio Santos and his cartel. I didn't sleep. Just read every word while drinking cold coffee at the kitchen table. Antonio ran the Sangre cartel like a business. Drug routes into Texas and Arizona. Protection rackets in 6 Mexican states. He was smart. Kept his hands clean on paper. Let his men do the dirty work. But the file had something useful. Names. Locations. Patterns. And one name kept appearing. El Cuchillo. The knife. Antonio's personal enforcer. The man who handled executions. The man who probably killed Clara. At 6 in the morning, Agent Morgan called. Mr. Chun, we'd like you to come in for a statement. I'll be there this afternoon, I said. Make it soon. And please, Don't do anything. I hung up. Clara's funeral was that Friday. Her parents flew in from Oregon. Her mom hugged me and cried. Her dad shook my hand and told me Clara loved me more than anything. I stood by the casket and felt nothing. Just cold emptiness where my heart used to be. After everyone left, I stayed. Knelt by her grave. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. But I promise you this. They're going to pay for what they did. That night, I sold everything. The house. The car. Clara's parents took her belongings. I kept one photo. Clara laughing at our wedding. I put it in my wallet. Then I gathered my gear. Fake IDs I'd kept from old missions. Cash. Burner phones. A contact in Nogales who could get me across the border quietly. And weapons. I couldn't fly with them, but I knew people in Mexico who owed me favors. Sunday night, I called Agent Blake. Any updates? I asked. We're working on it, Mr. Chun. These investigations take time. How much time? Could be months. These cartels are hard to penetrate. Months. Clara's killers would be living free for months while the FBI filled out paperwork. Thanks for the update, I said, and hung up. Monday morning, I crossed into Mexico through a tunnel in Nogales. My contact, a former Army Ranger named Kyle, met me on the other side. You look like hell, he said. I need weapons and information on Sangre cartel operations in Sonora. Kyle studied me. Victor, whatever you're planning, just tell me what you know. He sighed. There's a dealer named Cisco. Low-level guy. Moves product in Agua Prieta. Word is he reports directly to someone higher up. You want names? Start with him. Where? Kyle handed me a folded paper. Address. But Victor, these guys don't play fair. I looked him in the eye. Neither do I. By nightfall, I had everything I needed. A Glock 19. A knife. And Cisco's routine. He hit the same bar every Tuesday night. Got drunk. Walked home alone down a dark alley. Perfect. Tuesday came. I waited in the shadows near the bar. At 11, Cisco stumbled out. Skinny guy. Late 20s. Too much cologne. He was laughing at something on his phone. I followed him into the alley. When he stopped to light a cigarette, I moved. My hand covered his mouth. Knife to his throat. Scream and you die, I said in Spanish. Not if you understand. He nodded, eyes wide with terror. You work for the Sangre cartel. I want names. Where's El Cuchillo? I don't know, man. I just move packages. I pressed the knife harder. Wrong answer. Okay. There's a safe house. 30 miles south. That's where the bosses meet sometimes. Address. He gave it to me. Every detail. I believed him. Fear makes people honest. One more thing, I said. A woman was killed last week. American. Who ordered it? Cisco's face went pale. That was El Cuchillo. Antonio's order. Everyone knows about it. They're celebrating because I didn't let him finish. I knocked him out cold and left him in the alley. He'd wake up with a headache and a story no one would believe. But I had what I needed. A safe house. 30 miles south. That's where I'd find the next piece of this puzzle. That's where I'd start tearing Antonio's world apart. I walked back to my truck and checked my gear. The FBI could take months. I'd need less than a week. Clara deserved that much. The safe house sat in the middle of nowhere. Dirt roads. No neighbors for miles. Just desert and a single-story concrete building with bars on the windows. I'd been watching it for 2 days from a ridge half a mile out. 3 guards rotated shifts. They were sloppy. Spent more time on their phones than actually watching. At night, they'd smoke and laugh, thinking they were untouchable. They had no idea what was coming. I'd learned their patterns. Guard change at 6 in the morning and 6 at night. The night crew was lazier. 2 would stay inside playing cards while 1 walked the perimeter every hour. That was my window. On the 3rd night, I moved in. I waited until 2 in the morning. The perimeter guard had just finished his round and gone back inside. I had 58 minutes before he'd come out again. More than enough time. I approached from the east, staying low. The desert was cold at night. My breath came out in small clouds. I reached the back wall and pressed myself against it, listening. Voices inside. Spanish. They were arguing about a soccer game. The back door had a basic lock. I picked it in less than 30 seconds. My instructor at Fort Bragg would have been proud. I slipped inside, weapon drawn. The hallway was dark, smelled like cigarettes and old food. I moved silent, the way I'd done 100 times in Afghanistan. Room by room. Clear, clear, clear. Then I heard them. 3 voices in the main room. I reached the doorway and looked around the corner. 2 men at a table playing cards. The third standing by the window, smoking. All armed. All cartel. I could have killed them. Would have been easy. But dead men don't talk. I pulled a flashbang from my vest, tossed it into the room, and turned away. The explosion was deafening in the enclosed space. I moved in immediately. The men were blind, disoriented, grabbing for their weapons. I put the first one down with a strike to the temple. He collapsed. The second tried to pull his gun. I broke his wrist and put him on the ground. The third ran for the door. I caught him, swept his legs, and had him face down in 3 seconds. "Don't move," I said in Spanish, pressing my gun to his head. "You move, you die." All 3 were zip-tied within a minute. I dragged them to chairs and made sure they could see me clearly. "My name doesn't matter," I said. "But you're going to tell me everything about El Cuchillo and Antonio Santos. If you lie, I'll know. If you refuse, you won't like what happens next." The youngest one, maybe 25, started crying. "We're just guards, man. We don't know anything." I pulled out my phone and showed them the video of Clara. The woman in this video was my wife. El Cuchillo killed her. Antonio Santos ordered it. "You work for them, so you're going to help me find them." The older guard, 40-something with a scar on his neck, spat at me. "You're a dead man. Antonio will gut you and feed you to the dogs." I walked over to him calmly, pressed the barrel of my gun against his knee. "Last chance. Where does El Cuchillo operate from?" "Go to hell." I pulled the trigger. His scream filled the room. The other 2 started talking immediately, words tumbling over each other. "He works from a compound 60 miles south of Hermosillo. Antonio's there too. Big place, lots of security. El Cuchillo runs interrogations there. That's where they take people." I lowered my weapon. "What else?" The young one was shaking. There's talk about an American. Someone who helps them. Someone in law enforcement. That's how they found your wife. They had inside information." My blood went cold. Someone in U.S. law enforcement was helping the cartel. Someone had given them Clara. "Names," I demanded. "We don't know. I swear. Only Antonio and his top guys know that." I believed them. These were low-level soldiers. They knew enough to be useful, but not enough to be dangerous. I searched the safe house while they sat tied up. Found phones, ledgers, cash, and a laptop. I took everything. Then I looked through the phones. One had recent calls to a number saved as El Jeef, the boss, Antonio. But more interesting was a text thread, coordinates, dates, and photos. One showed El Cuchillo standing in front of a compound gate, smiling. Another showed the inside of what looked like an interrogation room, the same room where Clara died. I saved everything to a USB drive. This was evidence, not for the FBI, for me. Before I left, I turned to the 3 guards. "You're going to deliver a message to Antonio Santos. Tell him Victor Chun is coming. Tell him I'm going to do to El Cuchillo what he did to my wife. And then I'm coming for Antonio. Tell him he should have killed me first." The young one looked terrified. "He'll kill us for letting you go. Then you better run," I said, "because I'm burning this place down." I gathered all the cartel records, doused the building in gasoline from their truck, and lit it. By the time the flames were visible for miles, I was already gone. I drove through the night, heading south. The laptop would take time to crack, but the phones gave me what I needed. El Cuchillo wasn't hiding. He was operating openly, protected by Antonio's power. That protection was about to disappear. 60 miles south of Hermosillo. That's where the compound was. That's where the man who tortured my wife felt safe. I'd spent years raiding compounds in hostile territory, taking out high-value targets surrounded by armed guards. This was just another mission. Except this time, it was personal. I stopped at a gas station just before dawn. Bought coffee and a burner phone. Called Kyle. I need intel on a compound south of Hermosillo. Heavy security. Cartel operation. Kyle was quiet for a moment. Victor, you're going after them alone? Just get me the intel. This is suicide, man. Then make sure the intel is good. He sighed. I'll see what I can do. But Victor, these guys have an army. You can't take them all. I don't need to take them all, I said. Just one. El Cuchillo. The rest are just in the way. I hung up and stared at Clara's photo in my wallet. Her smile. Her eyes. The way she looked at me like I was someone worth loving. I'm coming, baby, I whispered. Almost there. The sun was rising over the desert. Another day. Another step closer to the man who took everything from me. The FBI could take months to build a case. But I'd be done in days. Because monsters like El Cuchillo don't fear the law. They fear men like me. Men who've done worse things to worse people in darker places. Men who know that sometimes justice doesn't come from a courtroom. Sometimes it comes in the middle of the night, when you least expect it. Kyle's intel came through the next morning. Detailed satellite images of the compound. Guard rotations. Vehicle movements. Even the layout of the buildings inside. He'd also sent something else. A warning. Victor, I pulled some favors to get this. But listen to me. That compound has 20+ armed men at any given time. Military-grade weapons. Reinforced structures. You go in there alone, you're not coming out. Think about what Clara would want. I deleted the message. Clara would want me alive. But Clara was gone. And the man responsible was sleeping safely behind those walls. I spent the day studying every detail. The compound was built like a fortress. High concrete walls. Guard towers at each corner. Single entry point with a reinforced gate. Inside were 4 buildings. Main house where Antonio likely stayed. Barracks for the soldiers. Storage facility. And a smaller structure set apart from the others. That one caught my attention. Isolated. Bars on windows. Only one door. An interrogation facility. That's where El Cuchillo would work. That's where he'd taken Clara. I couldn't just walk in the front gate. But I'd breached harder targets in Iraq and Syria. The difference was I'd had a team then. 4 or 5 operators who trusted each other with their lives. Now I was alone. But alone meant no one else would die for my revenge. I planned for 3 more days. Watched the compound from different positions. Learned the patterns. The guards changed at dawn and dusk. Food deliveries came every Tuesday and Friday. A doctor visited on Wednesdays. And every night around midnight, someone left the interrogation building and walked to the main house. El Cuchillo. Had to be. On the 4th night, I made my move. I waited until 3 in the morning. The guards were tired. Sloppy. I approached from the west side where the cameras had a blind spot. Kyle's intel was perfect. I scaled the wall using climbing gear, dropped silently into the compound yard. 2 guards were smoking near the barracks. I moved past them like a shadow. My target wasn't them. It was the small building across the yard. I reached the door. Locked. But this lock was better than the safe house. Military grade. I worked on it for 2 minutes before it clicked open. Too long. Too much exposure. But I was in. Inside was exactly what I expected. Concrete floors stained dark. Metal chairs with restraints. Tools hanging on the wall. A drain in the center of the floor. This was a place designed for one purpose. Pain. And there were photos on a desk. Polaroids of victims. People who'd crossed the cartel. People who'd suffered in this room. I flipped through them, my stomach turning. Then I found her. Clara. Tied to the chair. Blood on her face. The photo was taken moments before they started the video. My hands shook. Rage flooded through me so intense I couldn't breathe. I wanted to burn this entire compound to ash. Kill everyone inside. Make them all pay. But I forced myself to focus. Emotion got you killed. I'd learned that in my first year overseas. I searched the room. Found phones. Documents. And a laptop. I took everything. Then I heard footsteps outside. Someone was coming. I moved behind the door, knife in hand. The door opened. A man walked in carrying a bottle of liquor and whistling. He was stocky, wearing expensive boots. Tattoos covered his arms. One showed a knife dripping blood. El Cuchillo. He didn't see me until it was too late. I had him against the wall, knife to his throat, before he could make a sound. Scream and you die right here, I whispered in Spanish. His eyes went wide. Then he smiled. Actually smiled. You're the husband, he said. Victor Chun. Antonio said you might come. Shut up. She screamed for you, you know. Your wife. Called your name while I worked. Begged me to stop. Said you'd save her. He laughed. But you didn't. You weren't there. I pressed the knife harder. Drew blood. I was there for hours with her. He continued, his smile never fading. She told me about your life together. Your house. Your routines. Everything. I learned a lot about you, Victor. Antonio wanted to know if you'd come for revenge. I told him yes. I told him men like you always come. Where is Antonio? In the main house. Sleeping. Surrounded by 20 armed men. You'll never reach him. I don't need to reach him tonight. I just need you. His smile finally faltered. You kill me here, you'll never leave this compound alive. I'm not killing you here. I zip-tied his hands and gagged him. Dragged him to the back wall where I'd entered. It took 10 minutes to get him over the wall without alerting the guards. 10 minutes of pure tension. But we made it. I threw him in the trunk of my vehicle and drove. Deep into the desert. Far from any road or town. Just empty land under a black sky filled with stars. When I finally stopped, I pulled him out. He was trying to talk through the gag. Eyes full of fear now. The smile was gone. I removed the gag. Please, he said immediately. I was following orders. Antonio made me. Tell me everything. Who helped you find my wife? Who gave you the information? I don't know names. Someone in America sent the details. Her address, her routine, everything. Antonio handled that part. Who else was involved in killing her? Just me and 2 others. They held her while I did the work. Antonio watched on video call. He wanted to see it himself. Names of the other 2. He gave them. Both soldiers at the compound. And the American contact. What do you know? Nothing. I swear. Only that Antonio has someone high up. Someone in law enforcement who feeds him information for money. That's all I know. I believed him. El Cuchillo was a killer, but he wasn't smart enough to be trusted with important details. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say it all again. Everything you just told me. For the camera. He did. Every word. Confessing to Clara's murder. Naming Antonio. Mentioning the American contact. When he finished, I saved the video. What? What are you going to do with that? He asked. Send it to people who can use it. The FBI. Mexican authorities. Media. Your confession will destroy Antonio's operation. He actually looked relieved. So you're letting me go? I looked at him. This man who'd tortured my wife. Who'd laughed about it. Who'd enjoyed her pain. No, I said quietly. I'm not. Wait. Please. I told you everything. You hurt the only person in this world I loved. You took your time. Made her suffer. Sent me the video so I'd never forget. You don't get to walk away from that. His eyes filled with tears. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So am I. I didn't make him suffer. I'm not like him. But I made sure he understood why he was dying. Made sure Clara's name was the last thing he heard. When it was over, I buried him deep in the desert where no one would ever find him. Then I sat on the hood of my truck and looked up at the stars. One down. But Antonio was still alive. Still protected. Still thinking he was untouchable. And there was someone in American law enforcement helping him. Someone who'd given Clara to these monsters. I needed to find out who. I sent El Cuchillo's confession video to an encrypted email. Then I sent it to 3 different sources. Mexican Federal Police, DEA, and anonymously to a journalist I knew covered cartel violence. By morning, Antonio Santos would know his enforcer was gone, and he'd know I was coming for him next. I drove back across the border before sunrise. El Cuchillo's laptop and phones were in a bag beside me. The confession video was already spreading. By noon, it would be everywhere. But I had bigger problems now. Someone in U.S. law enforcement had betrayed Clara, given the cartel everything they needed to find her. That person was still out there, still protected, still thinking they were safe. I needed to know who. I checked into a motel outside Tucson, used a fake name, and paid cash. Then I opened El Cuchillo's laptop. It was password protected, but I'd expected that. I called a guy I knew from my intelligence days. Former NSA. He could crack anything. Send me remote access, he said when I explained what I needed. Give me 6 hours. While I waited, I went through the phones. Text messages mostly in Spanish. Cartel business. Shipment schedules. Payment records. Nothing about the American contact. Then I found something in the deleted messages. One conversation that had been erased, but not completely. Just fragments. Package delivered Tuesday. Target confirmed at school until 4 p.m. Home address verified. And a phone number. American area code. Phoenix. My heart stopped. That was sent 2 days before Clara was taken. Someone had been watching her, tracking her movements, sending updates to the cartel. I traced the number. It came back to a burner phone. Dead end. But the location data showed it had been active near Clara's school, near our house, near the coffee shop where she went every Sunday morning. Someone had been following my wife for weeks, learning her routine, waiting for the right moment. My phone buzzed. The NSA guy? I'm in the laptop. You need to see this. I opened the remote connection. He'd pulled up a folder labeled Phoenix Operation. Inside were photos. Clara leaving school. Clara at the grocery store. Clara in our driveway. Dozens of surveillance photos taken over 3 weeks. And emails. Encrypted, but he'd cracked them. They were between El Cuchillo and someone using the handle Amigo del Norte. Friend from the North. The emails laid out everything. Clara's schedule. My background. Where I'd be on the day they took her. The American contact had provided detailed intelligence. Professional level. Law enforcement level. There's more, the NSA guy said. I found payment records. Wire transfers. $50,000 sent to a U.S. bank account 3 days after your wife was killed. The account is hidden behind shell companies, but I can trace it. Give me another day. Do it, I said. I need a name. I hung up and stared at the surveillance photos. Someone had watched Clara for weeks, studied her like she was a target, and then they'd sold her to the cartel for $50,000. My hands were shaking again. Not from fear, from rage. My phone rang. Agent Morgan. Mr. Chun, we need to talk. Where are you? Why? Because a video just hit the internet. A cartel enforcer confessing to your wife's murder. We both know you're involved. You need to come in before this gets worse. I'm done waiting for the FBI to do its job. Victor, listen to me. I know you're hurting. I know you want justice. But if you keep going down this path, someone in law enforcement helped them kill Clara. Someone gave the cartel her information. You want to help? Find out who. Silence. Then Morgan spoke quietly. What are you talking about? Check the video confession. El Cuchillo mentions an American contact. Someone high up. Someone who's been feeding information to Antonio Santos for money. That person is the reason my wife is dead. If that's true, we'll investigate. You do that. I'll handle the rest. I hung up. The NSA guy called back that evening. I got it. The account belongs to a shell company, but the real owner is someone named Blake Cordova. My blood went cold. Agent Blake. FBI agent, yeah? Phoenix field office. He's been on the cartel task force for 6 years. Perfect position to sell information. Blake. The agent who came to my house. Who told me to stay out of it. Who'd been working with Antonio Santos the entire time. He'd given Clara to them. Watched her die. Then showed up at my door pretending to investigate. I thought about his face that day. How calm he was. How professional. He'd looked me in the eye knowing exactly what had happened to my wife. Knowing he'd help make it happen. Are you sure? I asked. Positive. I have bank records, encrypted emails, everything. This guy's dirty. Deep cartel connections going back years. Send me everything. 20 minutes later, I had it all. Proof that Agent Blake had been selling information to the Sangre cartel. Names of witnesses he'd compromised. Cases he'd sabotaged. And payments totaling over $2 million. Clara wasn't his first victim, just his most recent. I sat in that motel room and made a decision. Antonio Santos was still the primary target. But Blake was just as guilty. Maybe more. He'd betrayed everything he was supposed to stand for. Used his badge to help monsters. He needed to pay too. But first, I needed to expose him. Bring him down the right way. Because if I just killed him, the FBI would cover it up. Protect their own. The truth would disappear. I copied all the evidence to multiple drives. Sent copies to Agent Morgan, the DOJ, and 3 journalists. Then I sent one more email. To Blake himself. I know what you did. I know about Antonio. About the payments. About Clara. You have 24 hours to turn yourself in. If you don't, I'm coming for you next. I didn't expect him to surrender. Men like Blake never do. But I wanted him to know. Wanted him to feel the fear Clara felt. The helplessness. Then I'd finish what I started. Antonio Santos was still alive. Still protected in his compound. But his enforcer was dead. His American contact was exposed. His operation was falling apart. Soon, I'd come for him too. Blake didn't turn himself in. I didn't think he would. Instead, he ran. Agent Morgan called me the next morning. Her voice was tight, angry. Victor, what the hell did you send me? The truth. Blake's been working for the Sangre Cartel for years. He gave them Clara. Check the evidence. I did. We all did. Internal Affairs has been going through it all night. If this is real, it's real. She was quiet for a moment. Blake didn't show up for work this morning. His house is empty. He's gone. He's running to Mexico. To Antonio. That's where he'll feel safe. We've issued a warrant. Border Patrol is watching for him. Victor, you need to let us handle this now. You've done enough. I'm not done. If you go after Blake, you'll be charged. Murder. Vigilante justice. Everything you've done will be for nothing. Clara's dead because of him. That's already everything. I hung up before she could respond. Blake was running scared. Good. Scared people make mistakes. And I knew exactly where he'd go. The compound. Antonio would protect him. Hide him. They were in this together now. But that compound was a fortress. 20 armed men. High walls. I'd gotten lucky with El Cuchillo. Caught him alone. Antonio wouldn't be that careless. I needed help. Real help. The kind that came from people who'd seen combat and knew how to handle impossible situations. I made 3 calls. To former teammates. Men I'd served with in Iraq and Afghanistan. Men who trusted me with their lives. The first was Hunter. Sniper. Best I'd ever seen. He listened to everything without interrupting. Then he said, I'm in. When and where. The second was Dominic. Explosives expert. He'd saved my life twice in Syria. For Clara? I'll be there tomorrow. The third was Tristan. Medic and close quarters combat specialist. You should have called me sooner, brother. I'm already packing. Within 48 hours, we were together in a safe house outside Hermosillo. For men who'd fought in the worst places on earth. Who understood what it meant to face impossible odds. I laid out the plan. Showed them the compound layout. The guard rotations. The target. Antonio Santos is inside. So is Blake. Maybe 20 hostiles total. We go in fast. Hit them before they can organize a defense. Our goal is Antonio and Blake. Everyone else is just in the way. Hunter studied the satellite images. That's a lot of firepower for 4 guys. We've done worse. Dominic nodded. Fallujah. Remember that building? 8 hostiles. 4 of us. We made it work. Tristan looked at me. This isn't a military operation, Victor. This is personal. You sure you can keep your head clear? Clara deserves justice. That's all that matters. He held my eyes for a long moment. Then nodded. All right. Let's plan this right. We spent 2 days preparing. Studying the compound. Running scenarios. Gathering equipment. Dominic rigged breaching charges. Hunter found a position for Overwatch. Tristan prepped medical supplies in case things went bad. And I contacted one more person. Kyle. My contact in Mexico. I need a favor, I told him. When this is over, make sure the Mexican authorities know what happened. Make sure they know Antonio Santos was responsible for dozens of murders. Make sure the world knows the truth. You planning on surviving this? Kyle asked. Planning on it. but just in case. He was quiet. Then, Clara was good people, Victor. Finish this. Come home. On the third night, we moved. The compound was dark except for lights on the guard towers. We approached from the north. Hunter set up on a ridge 800 meters out with a clear view of the towers. Dominic planted charges on the north wall. Tristan and I waited with assault rifles ready. At exactly midnight, Hunter's voice came through the radio. Towers clear. 2 shots. 2 guards down. Silent. Dominic blew the charges. The wall exploded inward. We moved through the smoke fast and low. Gunfire erupted immediately. Cartel soldiers poured out of the barracks. But we'd trained for this. Moved like a machine. Tristan covered left. I covered right. We pushed forward while Hunter dropped targets from his perch. 3 down, Hunter reported calmly. 5 more in the yard, I called out. We engaged. The cartel soldiers were dangerous but undisciplined. They fired wild. Wasted ammunition. We didn't. Every shot counted. Every movement had purpose. Dominic breached the main house door. We pushed inside. More gunfire. A soldier came around the corner. Tristan put him down. Another tried to ambush us from a room. I handled him. Then we heard shouting from upstairs. Spanish. Panicked. Antonio. We moved up the stairs. 2 more guards tried to stop us. They failed. We reached the top floor and kicked in the last door. Antonio Santos sat behind a desk with a gun in his hand. Next to him stood Blake. Both looked terrified. Don't move, I said, weapon aimed at Antonio's chest. Blake raised his hands. Victor, wait. We can work this out. I can testify. Give you everything on Antonio. You gave them Clara. I didn't know they'd kill her. I just provided information. I didn't. You sold my wife for money. Watched her die. Then pretended to investigate. Antonio spoke in accented English. Your wife was collateral. You killed my brother. I took your woman. We're even. We're not even. I looked at both of them. These 2 men who destroyed my life. Who'd taken everything from me. Part of me wanted to kill them both right there. End it. But Tristan's voice came through. Victor, Mexican federals just arrived. We've got 5 minutes before they breach. I made a choice. Lowered my weapon slightly. Get on your knees. Both of you. They did. Blake was crying. Antonio just stared at me with hate. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say your names. Antonio Santos. Blake Cordova. Confess. Everything. Clara's murder. The cartel operation. All of it. And they did. Blake broke first. Told everything. Years of corruption. Names. Dates. Payments. Antonio followed. Bragged about his operation. About the people he'd killed. When they finished, I saved the video. Sent copies to Morgan, Kyle, and 3 journalists. Then I heard boots downstairs. The federals were inside. Time to go, Dominic said. We zip-tied Antonio and Blake. Left them for the authorities. Then we disappeared into the night the way we came. For ghosts who were never officially there. We made it across the border before dawn. Hunter, Dominic, and Tristan headed back to their lives. We didn't say much. Just shook hands. They understood. Some missions don't need words. I drove straight to a storage unit I'd rented in Tucson. Inside were all the files I'd collected. El Cuchillo's phones. Documents from the safe house. The laptop. Everything. I needed to go through it all one more time. Make sure I had everything before the authorities buried it in red tape. I started with El Cuchillo's phone. The one with deleted messages. I'd only skimmed them before, but now I went deeper. Recovered files. Hidden folders. And that's when I found it. A photo. Taken inside what looked like a medical office. The image showed paperwork on a desk. I zoomed in. The letterhead said Desert Rose Women's Health Center. Clara's doctor. And the document was an ultrasound report. Patient name, Clara Chun. Date, 3 weeks before she died. My hands started shaking. The report showed a fetus. 8 weeks along. Healthy. Normal development. Clara had been pregnant. I dropped the phone. Couldn't breathe. She'd been carrying our child and never got the chance to tell me. Maybe she was waiting for the right moment. Maybe she wanted to surprise me. But the cartel had taken that from us. From her. They'd killed 2 people, not 1. I sat there in that storage unit and felt something inside me break. I thought I understood the full scope of what they'd done. But this was worse. So much worse. Then I saw another file on the phone. A voice recording. I played it. El Cuchillo's voice came through. She's pregnant, Chief. 8 weeks. Should I tell her before we start? Antonio's voice responded. Yes. I want her to know. I want her husband to know we took everything. His wife. His child. His future. Then Clara's voice. Crying. Please. Please don't hurt my baby. I'll do anything. Please. El Cuchillo laughed. Your husband killed Familia. Now you pay. I stopped the recording. Couldn't listen anymore. They'd told her. Made sure she knew they were killing our child too. Made sure her last moments were filled with that horror. I destroyed the phone. Smashed it against the concrete floor until it was pieces. Then I sat with my head in my hands and cried for the first time since Clara died. Not just for her. For the baby I'd never meet. The family we'd never have. The future they'd stolen. When I finally pulled myself together, I went back to the laptop. Forced myself to keep looking. If they'd known about the pregnancy, that meant they'd had access to Clara's medical records. That level of access required more than just surveillance. I dug deeper into Blake's encrypted files. Found correspondence I'd missed before. Emails between Blake and someone else. The emails were coded, but the pattern was clear. Blake wasn't working alone. There was another mole. Someone with access to medical records. Financial information. Private data. The kind of access that took years to build. High-level clearance. I traced the email thread back. Found a name buried in the metadata. Morgan. Agent Morgan. No, that couldn't be right. Morgan was the one who'd seemed genuinely upset about Clara. Who'd pushed internal affairs to investigate Blake. Who'd helped me. But the evidence was there. Encrypted payments to an offshore account linked to her name. Communication logs showing she'd accessed Clara's medical files 2 weeks before the murder. Access she had no official reason to request. She'd been helping Blake. Covering for him. And when I'd exposed Blake, she'd played the shocked partner perfectly. Made herself look innocent while secretly working to contain the damage. I felt sick. Morgan had looked me in the eye and lied. Pretended to care about justice while working for the people who'd butchered my wife. My phone rang. Morgan. I answered, but didn't speak. Victor. Her voice sounded concerned. I've been trying to reach you. We got Antonio and Blake. They're in custody. Mexican authorities are cooperating. It's over. Is it? Yes. You did it. Clara has justice. You can come home now. Why did you access Clara's medical records? Silence. Long and heavy. Then her voice changed. Colder. What are you talking about? 2 weeks before she died. You accessed her file at Desert Rose Women's Health Center. What? I don't know what evidence you think you have. I have all of it, Morgan. The payments. The emails. Everything. You and Blake were partners. Not just in the FBI. In the cartel operation. Another pause. When she spoke again, the concern was gone. Just calculation. You're smart, Victor. Smarter than Blake gave you credit for. But you're also alone. No proof that will hold up in court. No witnesses. Just a grieving husband with a vendetta who's killed multiple people across 2 countries. I have recordings. Documents. Financial records. Obtained illegally. Inadmissible. And even if you go public, who do you think they'll believe? A decorated FBI agent or a vigilante? She was right. Everything I had was fruit of the poisonous tree. Inadmissible in court. And Morgan had the system protecting her. Why? I asked. Why help them kill Clara? I didn't want her dead. That was Antonio being dramatic. I just provided information Blake requested. Didn't ask questions. The money was good. $2 million over 6 years. Enough to retire somewhere warm when this was all done. She was pregnant. Morgan didn't respond immediately. Then, quietly, I know. That wasn't supposed to happen. You killed my wife and my child for money. I'm sorry about Clara. Truly. But this is business, Victor. Nothing personal. And now it's over. Blake will take the fall. Antonio's going to prison. Everyone gets justice. You should walk away while you can. I'm not walking away. Then you're making a mistake. I have friends. Resources. You come after me, you won't win. You'll just end up dead or in prison next to Antonio. Is that what Clara would want? She hung up. I sat there staring at the phone. Morgan was protected, connected. She'd built her corruption carefully over years. Taking her down wouldn't be like hunting cartel soldiers. It would require proof that could stand up in court. But I had something she didn't expect. Something Blake had kept as insurance against her. I opened Blake's laptop one more time. Found a hidden folder I'd overlooked. Inside were videos. Recordings of conversations between Blake and Morgan. Planning operations. Discussing payments. Laughing about cases they'd sabotaged. And one video showing Morgan meeting with Antonio Santos personally. Shaking hands. Taking an envelope full of cash. Blake had been recording everything. Probably planning to use it if he ever got caught. Mutual assured destruction. Now I had it all. I copied everything to multiple drives. Encrypted them. Then I made a call. Not to the FBI. To the Department of Justice. Inspector General's office. The people who investigated federal agents. I told them everything. Sent them the evidence. Bank records. Videos. Emails. All of it. Within 6 hours, Morgan was arrested. Pulled out of the FBI building in handcuffs while news cameras rolled. The evidence was too strong. Too detailed. Even her friends couldn't protect her. I watched it happen on TV from a diner in Phoenix. Saw her face as they led her away. She looked right at the camera. No emotion. Just cold calculation even in defeat. Clara's killers were all accounted for now. El Cuchillo dead. Antonio in Mexican prison. Blake in federal custody. Morgan arrested. But it didn't feel like victory. Clara was still gone. Our child was still gone. Justice didn't bring them back. I finished my coffee and left the diner. One more thing left to do. Go home. Face what came next. The DOJ moved fast. Within 3 days, they had Morgan in an interrogation room with her lawyer. I wasn't allowed in, but they kept me updated. She tried to deny everything at first. Said the evidence was fabricated. That I'd set her up out of revenge. But Blake's videos were too clear. Her own voice planning operations with the cartel. Her face taking money from Antonio Santos. Her lawyer advised her to make a deal. She gave them everything. Names of other corrupt agents. Cartel contacts. Drug routes. Cases she'd sabotaged over 6 years. Witnesses she'd helped disappear. It was bigger than anyone thought. The corruption ran through multiple agencies. The DOJ prosecutor called me personally. Your evidence just broke open the largest law enforcement corruption case in Arizona history. 12 agents under investigation. 3 already arrested. This is massive. I don't care about massive, I said. I care that they pay for Clara. They will. Morgan and Blake are both looking at life sentences. No parole. Antonio's fighting extradition, but Mexico wants him for their own charges. He'll never see freedom again. It should have felt like enough. But it didn't. I met with the prosecutor in person the next week. A woman named Natalie Reed. Sharp. Professional. She laid out the timeline. Morgan and Blake's trial starts in 4 months. We'll need you to testify. Your evidence is crucial. I'll be there. There's something else. The methods you use to gather this evidence. They're legally gray. Defense attorneys will attack it. We can work around most of it, but you need to be prepared for them to come after your character. Let them. She studied me. You've lost everything. I'm sorry for that. But this testimony could put you at risk too. Cartel retaliation. Legal exposure. Are you sure you want to do this? Clara was pregnant when they killed her. 8 weeks. She never got to tell me. My voice cracked slightly. So yes, I'm sure. Natalie's expression softened. I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Make sure the jury knows. Make sure everyone knows what these people did. I will. I promise. The trial preparation took months. Depositions. Interviews. Going over every detail of what happened. It was exhausting. Reliving Clara's death over and over. But something good came from it. The federal task force that formed to investigate cartel corruption asked me to consult. They wanted my knowledge. My experience hunting bad people. I said yes. It gave me purpose, a reason to keep going. And Kyle called with news from Mexico. Antonio's not doing well in prison. Turns out a lot of people there lost family to his cartel. He's in protective custody, but even that's not really protecting him. Good, I said. Also, the compound's been seized. Mexican government is turning it into a training facility for federal police. Place where they tortured people is now being used to fight cartels. Thought you'd want to know. I did. It felt right somehow. Taking something evil and making it useful. Blake's trial came first. Federal courthouse in Phoenix. I testified for 2 days. Told the jury everything. Showed them the evidence. Blake's lawyer tried to break me down. Suggested I'd fabricated evidence out of grief and rage. The prosecutor played Blake's own recordings. His voice planning Clara's murder. Laughing about it afterward. Counting his money. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life in prison without parole. Morgan's trial was harder. She was smarter. More careful. Her defense team was expensive and aggressive. They painted her as Blake's victim. Said he'd manipulated her. Threatened her family. But the videos didn't lie. Morgan meeting Antonio. Taking money. Planning operations. Accessing Clara's medical records. I testified again. This time I brought Clara's ultrasound photo. Held it up for the jury. This is what they killed, I said. My wife and our unborn child. Morgan made that possible. She gave them the information. Helped them hunt Clara like an animal. For money. The courtroom was silent. Morgan was convicted. Life without parole. Same as Blake. When the verdict was read, she looked at me. No emotion. Just that same cold calculation. Like she was analyzing where she'd made her mistake. Not sorry for what she'd done. Just sorry she got caught. I walked out of that courthouse and felt hollow. Justice was done. Everyone responsible was paying. But Clara was still gone. And I didn't know what came next. 2 months after the trials, I got a call from the DOJ. They had a proposition. We're assembling a task force, Natalie Reed explained. Specialized unit focused on cartel violence and corruption. We want people with real experience. People who understand how these organizations work. We want you. I'm not a federal agent. No. But you've done more damage to the Sangre cartel in 3 months than we did in 5 years. You know how to hunt. How to gather intelligence. How to operate in hostile territory. We need that. What would I do? Consult. Train agents. Help us identify targets and plan operations. It's contract work. Good pay. And it would be legal this time. I thought about it. Thought about sitting alone in an empty house with nothing but memories. Or doing something useful. Something Clara would have wanted. I'm in. The task force operated out of El Paso. Mixed team. DEA. FBI. Homeland Security. Even some military intelligence. Our target was simple. Dismantle cartel operations on both sides of the border. I spent 6 months training agents. Teaching them what I'd learned overseas. How to track targets. How to operate in dangerous territory. How to think like the enemy. We ran operations into Mexico with federal approval. Coordinated strikes with Mexican authorities. Took down safe houses. Disrupted supply lines. Arrested dozens of cartel operators. It felt good. Felt like I was doing something that mattered. Then one day, Natalie called me into her office. Her face was serious. We've got new intelligence on Antonio Santos. He's still running operations from prison. Using smuggled phones. Giving orders. His organization is rebuilding. How's that possible? He's supposed to be in maximum security. Prison corruption. Guards on his payroll. He's got money and connections. Mexican authorities are trying to shut it down, but it's slow. Meanwhile, people are dying. What do you need from me? She hesitated. This is off the books. Not official. But there's talk of moving Antonio to a different facility. Higher security. Complete isolation. It would effectively end his control over the cartel. Sounds like a good plan. It is. But there's resistance. Political pressure. Antonio's lawyers are fighting it. Could take years. And in the meantime, he keeps killing. I understood what she wasn't saying. You want me to do something about it. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal, Victor. I'm just telling you the situation. What you do with that information is up to you. She left the room. Left me with a choice. I could wait. Let the system work. Hope that eventually Antonio would be truly contained. Or I could finish what I started. I thought about Clara. About our child. About all the other families Antonio had destroyed over the years. All the people he'd keep hurting as long as he had power. The choice was easy. I contacted Kyle. I need intel on which prison Antonio's in. Layout. Security. Everything. Victor, man, you can't be serious. Mexican maximum security? That's suicide. Just get me the information. He did. Antonio was in Altiplano Federal Prison, 2 hours outside Mexico City. One of the most secure facilities in the country. But no prison is perfect. And I'd spent years finding weaknesses in secure facilities. I studied the intel for weeks. Guard rotations, prisoner schedules, vulnerabilities. There was a pattern. Every Tuesday, Antonio had a meeting with his lawyers. They brought him to a special room. Less security, more privacy. That was the window. I reached out to Hunter, Dominic, and Tristan. Told them what I was planning. Expected them to say no. Tell me I was crazy. Instead, Hunter said, "When do we leave? This isn't your fight. Clara was family to us too. And besides, someone needs to keep you alive." Dominic agreed. One last mission. For her. Tristan was already packing. Let's finish this. We crossed into Mexico using false identities. Rented a safe house near the prison. Spent 2 weeks surveilling. Learning patterns. Planning every detail. The night before the operation, we sat around reviewing the plan one final time. This is different than the compound, I told them. This is a federal prison. If we get caught, there's no walking away. Mexican government will lock us up and throw away the key. Hunter cleaned his rifle. Then we don't get caught. We go in fast. Extract Antonio during his lawyer meeting. Out in under 10 minutes. Mexican federals we're working with will provide distraction on the west side. But we're on our own inside. Dominic checked his gear. Charges are set. One blast, the wall comes down. We drive straight through. Tristan loaded medical supplies. I've got everything we need if someone gets hit. But let's try not to get hit. I looked at these men who'd followed me into hell multiple times. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank us yet, Hunter said. Let's survive first. Tuesday came. We moved into position at dawn. Watched the prison. Waited for the signal. At exactly 10 a.m., explosions erupted on the west side. Our federal contacts creating chaos. Guards rushed toward the commotion. Go, I said. Dominic hit the detonator. The north wall exploded. We drove through in an armored truck, straight into the prison yard. Alarm screamed. Guards opened fire. Hunter returned fire from the truck bed. Dropped 3 guards in seconds. We reached the lawyer meeting building. I jumped out, Tristan behind me. 2 guards at the door. They raised weapons. We put them down. Breached the door. Antonio sat at a table with 2 lawyers. His eyes went wide when he saw me. Impossible, he whispered. Nothing's impossible, I said and grabbed him. Antonio tried to fight. Threw a punch. I blocked it easily and put him in restraints. The lawyers scrambled for the door. Tristan let them go. We weren't here for them. You're dead, Antonio spat. My men will hunt you forever. Your family. I don't have family anymore. You made sure of that. We dragged him toward the truck. Gunfire erupted around us. Prison guards closing in. Hunter provided cover, his shots precise and controlled. Dominic threw smoke grenades. We pushed through the chaos. A guard appeared from the left. Tristan handled him. We reached the truck and threw Antonio in the back. Hunter jumped in. I took the wheel. Go, go, Dominic yelled. I floored it. We crashed back through the hole in the wall as bullets pinged off the armored plating. Mexican federal police vehicles blocked our path outside, but they moved aside. Our arrangement. They got credit for disrupting the prison. We got Antonio. We drove for 20 minutes. Deep into the countryside. Abandoned factory that Kyle had scouted. Remote. No witnesses. We dragged Antonio inside and tied him to a chair. He was breathing hard, eyes darting between us. What do you want? He demanded. Money? I have millions. Territory? I'll give you. I want you to understand something. I interrupted. You killed my wife. Tortured her. Made her suffer. And you did it because I killed your brother Raphael during a military operation. You thought that made us even. It did. Blood for blood. Except Raphael was hiding with terrorists, planning to smuggle drugs and weapons. He was a criminal who got what he deserved. Clara was a teacher. Innocent. And she was pregnant with my child. Antonio's face flickered with something. Not quite guilt, but maybe recognition of the line he'd crossed. I didn't know about the baby, he said quietly. Your men told her before they killed her. Made sure she knew. Made sure she died in terror, knowing they were killing our child too. He looked away. That was El Cuchillo. He went too far. I told him to make it quick, but he enjoyed his work too much. You gave the order. You watched on video. Don't pretend you're innocent. Antonio met my eyes. You want me to say I'm sorry? I'm not. This is the life I chose. The business I'm in. Your wife was collateral damage. It happens. I felt my jaw tighten. This man felt nothing. No remorse. No humanity. Just cold business calculation. Hunter spoke from behind me. We should finish this and go. We've got maybe 30 minutes before the Federals realize we're not bringing him back. I nodded. Pulled out my knife. Antonio saw it, and his face went pale. Wait. Before you kill me, you should know something. Something important. What? I wasn't the one who wanted your wife dead. I was pushed into it. What are you talking about? Antonio's words came faster now, desperate. 6 months before Raphael died, I made a deal with the Jalisco Cartel. Disputed territory. It went bad. They blamed me for the death of one of their suppliers. But the man who really killed him was an American. Former military. He'd been working freelance, taking out their operations for money. My blood went cold. What was his name? I don't know his real name. But the Jalisco Cartel wanted him dead. They found out you'd killed Raphael. Saw an opportunity. They came to me. Told me they'd help me get revenge on you if I did it their way. Made it personal. Made it hurt. You're lying. I'm not. They gave me Blake's contact. Gave me the money to pay him. They wanted you broken. Wanted you to suffer before they killed you. Your wife was their idea, not mine. Tristan stepped forward. Why would the Jalisco Cartel want Victor specifically? Antonio looked at me. Because 5 years ago, before you retired, you ran an operation in Guadalajara. Took out a weapons dealer named Miguel Vargas. You remember? I did. Miguel Vargas had been selling military-grade weapons to terrorists. We'd eliminated him and his entire cell. Clean operation. Sanctioned by the government. Vargas was the Jalisco Cartel leader's cousin. Antonio continued. They've been looking for the American who killed him for years. When they found out about Raphael's death, they connected you to Vargas. Realized you were the one. They used me to destroy you. I felt like I'd been punched. So this wasn't about Raphael at all. Oh, I wanted revenge for my brother. Don't misunderstand. But the Jalisco Cartel gave me the resources. The plan. They wanted you to suffer first. Then they were going to kill you themselves. I was just their tool. Hunter lowered his rifle. If that's true, then this isn't over. The Jalisco Cartel is still out there. Still wants Victor dead. Antonio nodded. That's why I'm telling you. You kill me, fine. I deserve it. But you're not done. They're still coming. And they're bigger than Sangre ever was. More connected. More dangerous. I stood there processing this. Everything I'd done. Everyone I'd taken down. And it was all because of something I'd done years ago. A sanctioned military operation that I'd never thought twice about. Dominic spoke carefully. Victor, if he's telling the truth, he's telling the truth, I said. The pieces fit too well. The professional surveillance of Clara. The inside information. The brutality designed to break me emotionally. It wasn't just cartel revenge. It was calculated psychological warfare. What do we do? Tristan asked. I looked at Antonio. Give me names. Everyone in the Jalisco Cartel who was involved in planning Clara's death. You'll let me live? No. But I'll make it quick instead of slow. Your choice. He gave me everything. Names. Locations. The structure of the operation. How they'd manipulated him. How they'd funded it. Everything. When he finished, I kept my word. Made it quick. Antonio Santos died knowing he'd been used. That his revenge had been someone else's weapon. We burned the evidence and left. The Mexican federals found the body 3 hours later. Officially, Antonio had been killed during an escape attempt. No one asked questions. But I had new information. New targets. The people truly responsible for Clara's death were still alive. Still operating. Still dangerous. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. We returned to the United States through unofficial channels. Cal made sure we disappeared from Mexican records. As far as anyone knew, we were never there. The DOJ kept quiet about Antonio's death. Officially, he died during a prison riot. No mention of Americans. No mention of extraction. Natalie called me once. I don't know what happened in Mexico, she said carefully. And I'm not asking. But Antonio Santos is gone. His cartel is falling apart. You did what you set out to do. It's not finished. Victor, you need to let it go. You've lost enough. Don't lose yourself too. But she didn't understand. The Jalisco cartel was still out there. The people who'd truly orchestrated Clara's murder were still breathing. Still planning. Still dangerous. I spent weeks gathering intelligence. The names Antonio had given me checked out. 3 high-ranking Jalisco leaders had planned everything. Used Antonio as their weapon. They were careful. Protected. But everyone makes mistakes. Hunter found the first one in Culiacan. Dominic located the second in Tijuana. Tristan tracked the third to a compound outside Guadalajara. We planned 3 simultaneous operations. Hit them all at once so none could warn the others. It took 2 months of preparation. Detailed surveillance. Careful planning. When we moved, it was surgical. In and out. No collateral damage. Just the targets. Each one got the same message before they died. Clara's name. What they'd done. Why they were paying for it. When it was over, I sat in a hotel room in San Diego and felt empty. Everyone responsible for Clara's death was gone. Blake. Morgan. El Cuchillo. Antonio. The Jalisco leaders. All of them. Justice was done. But Clara was still dead. Our baby was still gone. And I was still alone. I flew back to Phoenix. Drove to the cemetery where Clara was buried. Knelt by her grave for the first time in months. It's done, I whispered. Everyone who hurt you is gone. I kept my promise. The wind rustled through the trees. Birds sang. Life went on around me like nothing had happened. I found something. I continued, pulling out a small photo from my wallet. It was the ultrasound image I'd discovered. The baby we'd never meet. You were going to tell me, weren't you? Probably had some special way planned. You always made things special. Tears ran down my face. First time I'd cried since the storage unit. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Sorry I brought this life into ours. You deserve better. You deserve to grow old. To see our child grow up. To have the peaceful life we planned. I placed the ultrasound photo on her grave, weighted down with a smooth stone. I love you, Clara. I'll always love you. Both of you. A voice spoke behind me. Mr. Chun. I turned. Clara's mother stood there, holding flowers. Her father was a few steps behind her. I'm sorry, I said, standing quickly. I didn't mean to intrude. You're not intruding, she said softly. This is your wife. You belong here. She placed her flowers next to the ultrasound photo. Saw it. Her hand went to her mouth. She was pregnant? I nodded. 8 weeks. I found out after everything. I don't think she knew how to tell me yet. Clara's mother started crying. Her father put his arm around her. Then he looked at me. The people who did this. Are they? They're gone. All of them. They'll never hurt anyone else. He nodded slowly. Good. Clara always said you were the strongest man she'd ever met. Not because you were a soldier. Because you knew how to love deeply. How to protect what mattered. She'd be proud of you. I failed her. No. Clara's mother said firmly, wiping her tears. You loved her. You gave her 3 beautiful years of happiness. And you made sure she got justice. You didn't fail her, Victor. You honored her. We stood together by the grave. 3 people bound by loss. After a while, Her parents said goodbye and left me alone. I sat there until sunset, watching the light fade, thinking about everything that had happened, everything I'd done, everything I'd lost. Finally, I stood. I have to figure out what comes next, Clara. Can't keep living in the past. Can't keep hunting ghosts. You'd want me to move forward. Find some kind of peace. The idea came to me on the drive home. A way to honor Clara. To make sure her death meant something. I spent the next month working with lawyers and financial advisors. Liquidated everything I had. The insurance money. My savings. Payments from the DOJ consulting work. All of it went into a foundation. Clara's Light Foundation. Dedicated to helping families affected by cartel violence. Legal support. Counseling. Relocation assistance. Everything I wished had existed when Clara was taken. We opened offices in Phoenix, El Paso, and San Diego. Hired people who understood the trauma, who'd lived it themselves. Within 6 months, we'd helped 40 families escape violence, get justice, rebuild their lives. It didn't bring Clara back. Nothing could, but it gave her death meaning. Made sure other families had support when they needed it most. Hunter, Dominic, and Tristan all volunteered with the foundation, using their skills to help relocate threatened families, to provide security when needed, to train people in protection and awareness. We were soldiers who'd found a new mission, a better one. 1 year after Clara's death, I returned to her grave. The foundation was thriving. We'd helped over 100 families, shut down 3 trafficking operations, provided testimony that put 12 cartel members in prison. We're making a difference, I told her. Your name is helping people, giving them hope, keeping kids safe. You always wanted to make the world better. Now you are. I placed fresh flowers on the grave. Next to them, a small teddy bear, for the child we'd never meet. I'm okay now, I said. Still miss you every day. Still think about what we could have had. But I'm okay, and I'm going to keep fighting. Keep helping families like ours. Keep making sure your light shines in the darkness. I stood there a moment longer. Then I walked back to my truck. Inside was a folder. New case. A family in Tucson being threatened by cartel enforcers. They needed help. Needed protection. Needed someone who understood. I started the engine and headed toward them. Toward the next family that needed saving. The next fight worth fighting. Clara was gone. But her legacy lived on. In every family we helped. Every child we kept safe. Every life we changed. That was enough. It had to be. I was learning to live with the loss. To carry it without letting it destroy me. To honor Clara not through revenge, but through making the world a little bit safer. A little bit kinder. The way she always had. Before I go, I need to ask you something important. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below.